I genuinely submitted this video to university, so please don't criticize it too bad. So this first video is weird, I know, and I'm sorry, but gonna be honest, it's my last month of my university degree right now and I'm drowning. Literally all I do is work on my exams and I'm still late in my schedule. So I thought sharing my essay video on the movie Yes or No was a good idea because it still goes with the theme of this channel, which is Thai media, but it also saves me a week before I have to write, film and edit a full video, which takes me between 20 hours and 35 hours. So I hope you won't be too mad at me and still will enjoy this video. A few things before I play the essay. First of all, it had to be under 10 minutes, which was way too little for me to say everything I wanted to say. If it was an essay for my channel, it would have been about the whole movie and not just the theme of gender performance and sexuality. I still like the video, but it doesn't go far enough for me. So don't expect the most analytical video you've ever seen. And obviously, since I'm following the rules of the exams, I had to follow a theme, and the theme is called gender queer performance. So I did use the word queer throughout this essay. It's a word you don't hear on my channel, except maybe if I one day talk about queer baiting. But I usually don't use it because I can get my point really well with other words. And I know how sensitive this word is for certain people. This word, until pretty recently, was used as a slur. And even though it is used quite commonly now by a lot of people in a reclaimed sense, and to signify something quite different from the original slur, I don't personally feel like using the word is something that I need to be doing. Again, I think I can get my point across with other words that express the same thing. And so I really hope no one is hurt by my use of this word in this work, but the thing is that was in the theme of the essay and I needed to use it. So yeah, I really hope I'm not hurting or offending anyone. It's never my intention. And if you're uncomfortable at my use of this word in this video, I would advise you to not watch this video and hopefully come back next week because I have a really cool video planned. And yeah, also since this movie is about Thai tomboys, I had to explain the term, but again, because I only had under 10 minutes, I grossly generalized what a Thai tomboy is. Honestly, sexualities and their different names and categories in Thailand are so numerous and complex, it would need a full video essay to just talk about them, which I didn't have the luxury to have. So I just wanted my teacher to understand what I'm talking about. So it's quite vague. So yeah, basically this whole video essay is too short, not analytical enough, doesn't go far enough in the topic. Yeah, I hope you won't hate it though. Okay, so now I can leave you with the essay. I hope you will still like it. And I'll see you next week with the video on the history of GMMTV and their genius marketing. Bye!
Hello, today I'm going to be discussing the 2010 Thai movie Yes or No through the theme of gender, queer, and performance. I chose this movie because I'm a huge fan of Thai series and movies and therefore wanted to offer a piece of media I knew no one else would present. But on top of that, this movie is extremely interesting to study with the scope of this theme. As seen through the work of Judith Butler, gender is the human constructed social expectations that come with being male, female, or outside of the gender binary. Queerness is an umbrella term used by people of different sexualities to mean that they are not heterosexual. Performance is the way every individual chooses to present to the world in accordance or discordance with their gender or sexual identity. Those three terms are often highly linked and also almost always function in parallel of one another. It is also the case in Yes or No. The movie is the story of Bai, a university student who ends up being roommate with Kim, a tomboy. And already talking about this particular movie is interesting because I want to make it clear that Kim is not a tomboy in the sense that we see in the West. In Thailand, calling someone a tomboy or a tom in Thai is not about a girl doing some masculine activities as a kid, but about a woman who chooses to present herself in a masculine way. It's his own category of people, therefore instead of saying, "Have you seen a woman with short hair?" like what would probably happen in the West, in Thailand someone would simply ask, "Have you seen a tomboy?" And of course, because gender and sexuality always seem to interact in some way in the minds of the general public, tomboys are immediately classified as lesbians in Thailand, which is a central topic of the movie. So for this movie, I will be analyzing 3 scenes that represent the idea of gender being a performance as well as being used through a queer lens in the movie. Though I must apologize for the quality of image from the movie, it's really hard to find an HD version. But through these few clips, I will be showcasing how Yes or No challenges the link between gender and sexual orientations through the way Kim performs her gender. The first scene is the introduction scene for Kim. She enters her dorm room while Pai is taking a shower, and this is what happens. We don't see Kim's face when she enters the room, and even when Pai gets out of the shower, Kim is facing away from her. With the clothes and the haircut, it leads both the viewer and Pai to believe that this is a man standing in the middle of the room. And when Kim turns around, in a slow motion shot nonetheless, with the light and slightly romantic music in the background, we can see Pai be attracted to her. But that classic moment of boy meets girl is entirely broken by the next shot, a close-up shot of Kim's feet and a cockroach. At that moment, all perceived masculinity is broken as Kim screams and runs towards Pai to escape the insect. Kim is screaming in a high-pitched voice, and since being scared and showing it is usually associated with femininity by our patriarchal society, it creates an uncanny scene to the viewer because Kim is supposed to represent masculinity, but is already breaking that to show that it's not entirely the case. This type of scene will appear again in the movie when there's a huge blackout and Kim gets scared, having the same exact reaction of screaming and rushing to hug Pai. Pai's reaction is also very interesting because she is screaming and pushing Kim away, which is very telling of the fear of being assaulted by men that women have to live with every day. This is a very obvious feminine reaction that every woman can relate to. Pai pushes Kim away and she finally computes that Kim is a girl, asking her that question.
เป็นผู้หญิงเหรอ
ก็ผู้หญิงอะดิ ไม่คิดจะขอโทษเลยเหรอ
ขอโทษบ้าเลยล่ะ ก็เธอเป็นแบบนี้แล้วอยู่ดีๆมันกระโดดใส่ฉันก็ตกใจอะสิ
When Kim asks her to apologize, Pai defends herself by saying the way Kim performs her gender as very masculine seems to make her in some sense a man, with all the implications that come with it.
มีเสือปัจจระเข้หนีดีมาเจอทอม
เฮ้ยเปล่าเราไม่ได้เป็นทอม
Right after that, when Pai calls Kim a tomboy, Kim is very quick to deny it. There is clearly a dissonance between Kim's gender expression and performance and the way it is interpreted by others. But her rejection of being a tomboy is also very telling because she does look like a classic Thai tomboy, yet does not want the label as it challenges her own way of seeing herself. In this second scene, Pai asks Kim if her aunt is a tomboy, meaning a lesbian.
คิมพี่อินเขาเป็นทอมปะแน่บอกมาเถอะอยากรู้
ไม่รู้ดิ
แหม
จริงๆ ไม่รู้จริงไม่สนด้วย แล้วเราก็ไม่ได้เป็นไงเราก็เลยไม่รู้
Kim once again refutes her affiliations with that group of individuals. Pai tells her that everyone believes she is and that denying it only makes people think she is even more.
โอเค งั้นลองบอกมาดิ ว่าทอมอะเป็นยังไง
Kim asks Pai what a tomboy even is, and Pai points out that they're everything she is. It really showcases how Kim is trapped in that one box in people's minds because of the way she presents herself. In the words of Judith Butler, gender not being performed correctly according to society has punitive consequences. Here, the consequence is Kim not being seen as a woman at all and facing homophobia from people who assume that her masculine appearance equates to her being a lesbian.
เราก็ดูไม่เหมือนผู้หญิง แล้วเราก็ไม่ได้ชอบผู้หญิง แล้วเราก็ไม่ได้แมนโคตรอะแล้วทีเนี้ยเราเป็นอะไรอะ
Kim points this out by saying that while she doesn't look like a woman, she isn't very manly and doesn't like girls. Which Kim totally likes girls, but that's for later on in the movie. The conversation continues with Kim asking if she ends up liking a girl, will that make her a tomboy? She is clearly confused about who she is and how that coincides with her outward appearance. And I think that this sentence is most interesting.
ส่วนอื่นที่มันเป็นเราอ่ะมันจะมีใครมองเห็นบ้างไหมอ่ะนอกจากมึงเป็นทอม
Again, it clearly shows the disconnect between the way Kim sees herself and the way the world sees her. She seems to only dress in a masculine way and have short hair because she thinks it's fun and likes how it looks on her. But for most people, that cannot stand alone and must have other connotations. In everyone's minds and for centuries, as pointed out by Judith Butler, masculinity is directly linked to liking women, and liking women becomes by default an inherent masculine thing. Similarly, being desired by men is linked to femininity, which is why gay men have been feminized and lesbians have been masculinized by society regardless of how they present themselves for centuries. The third scene I want to analyze is one where Kim talks with her aunt. Her aunt asks her,
ถามจริงๆไอ้ท่าทางแบบเนี้ยจริงๆข้างในอะยังไง
and that's when the message of the movie fully comes to fruition. Her aunt tells her that some women that look masculine aren't lesbians, and that some that aren't masculine are lesbians, and that sexuality doesn't depend on outward appearance, but on who people are inside.
มันมีนะที่ดูเป็นแบบเนี้ยแล้วไม่ใช่ หรือไม่เป็นแบบเนี้ยแล้วใช่ เรื่องแบบเนี้ยจริงๆแล้วมันมาจากข้างในไม่ใช่ลักษณะท่าทางอย่าให้ลักษณะท่าทางมากำหนดเราอะต้องเอาที่ใจเราเป็น
And in the end, Kim does get with Pai as this is a women loving women movie, but it is not seen as a consequence from her being more masculine. The movie clearly works to detach Kim's masculinity from her sexuality, her gender performance from her queer identity. But of course, that is not the full scope of the conversation, as queer individuals have been challenging the gender conversations and stereotypes for centuries, which I won't have time to talk about in this video essay. But one thing is sure, queerness can be linked to a gender performance that stands out from the classical view on gender, but it's not always the case. This movie clearly wanted to showcase that gender performance and queerness are not always necessarily linked, and even when they align, it doesn't really matter. Yes or No was a huge success in Thailand and was the first Thai movie depicting a lesbian romance with a butch character. It even received the Special Mention Jury Award at the 2012 Milan International Lesbian and Gay Film Festival. Lastly, I will end on a quote by an important film critic at the release of the movie that showed its impact on the Thai public. Slowly on the heels of the gay male teen movie Love of Siam comes Thailand's first lesbian romance, Yes or No, a much more path-breaking undertaking in the outwardly permissive but underlyingly very conservative country. Thank you for watching.